Today is September 24th, Sunday. The year is 2023. So, this is the story, the beef tongue story. So, what happened to the beef tongue? That's the funny part. Okay. The year is 2011, maybe 2012, around that time. I decided that I was going to work as an interpreter for the United States military in Afghanistan. And so I applied to for a job with a private contractor, and I passed all the tests, the language test, and so they sent me an airline ticket to fly to Baltimore for my medical tests, and they paid for my hotel there, my flight, and I basically, since I was gonna leave and be gone to Baltimore, they'll do a physical test, a medical test, and after that, if I passed, they would then send me to Fort Benning for 6 months, where I would be trained, and then after 6 months of training, then I would be deployed to Afghanistan and work as an interpreter with the U.S. Armed Forces on the ground. So that was the plan. So I passed the hurdle. The application process was rigorous, and it took me almost a month to complete the application and gather all the information. I had to get security clearance. It was high level U.S. security, I think level 2 or whatever they call it. Anyways, now the point comes is I had my flight all planned the following day, and I basically said goodbye to the family that I was going to leave, and Lena was going to be living on her own, and there was a beef tongue in the refrigerator, and it's a delicacy in Pakistan. So I was gonna cook it, but things kind of got delayed, and I asked Lena. I said, "Lena, are you gonna cook the beef tongue?" She says, "No, I'm not gonna cook it, and I'm just gonna throw it away." And I thought, that's a waste of some really good meat, good beef. So I'm not gonna let her do that. I'm gonna cook it and eat it myself. So I cooked the beef tongue and ate it. Little did I realize it was high in cholesterol, and it spiked my cholesterol level. I didn't even realize. Here I am. I got on my flight, flew from Las Vegas to Baltimore, and the following day I had my medical test, and I failed it. And I failed it on the account that I had high cholesterol level. So that beef tongue, that's, sorry about that. My camera tilted. So, okay, it's back to normal. And so that beef tongue, here I am, all excited, ready to leave for the Fort Benning and training and all this stuff. And that beef tongue spiked my cholesterol level, and I failed the medical test. And they told me, sorry, you can't go. I said, why is this? It's cholesterol level. What big deal is it? And they said, oh, it is a big deal. I said, how? And they said, it is because you are going to be going on patrols with the ground forces. And once you're out in the field, in battlefield basically, in Afghanistan, then they don't want any medical incidences take place. And if you have high cholesterol, and the MREs, which is military ration, the food for their packaged food, they're high in cholesterol. And if you eat one of those, and with your high cholesterol, you can have a cholesterol shock. These are all new things. I've never heard of any cholesterol shock. And they said, then it's a medical emergency. They have to evacuate you. They cannot afford to do that in battlefield. So, therefore, we are not going to let you go. You're done. unless you bring your cholesterol level low, and then reapply for the job, and then we'll consider you. And that was the end of my dream of becoming an interpreter in Afghanistan because of the cow tongue.
But tell them what happened if the guy who told you about if you were selected. The guy came and told you. He said what life was like for interpreters.
Yeah. So now I know what Alina is talking about. And so I thought, I was so disappointed. I said, oh my gosh, this is. So a few years later, I ran into an officer. He was a colonel in the U.S. Armed Forces who served in Afghanistan. And mind you, he was not the only one. There were 3 or 4. In fact, just recently, I met someone who had served in Afghanistan, and I told him the tongue story, the cow tongue story. That's what I call it. And he told me the same thing. And this is what they told me. They said that I was the luckiest guy that I didn't go to the war in Afghanistan. They said it was brutal, it was horrible, and it was worse for the interpreters because, first of all, the interpreters are not issued any sidearm or guns. They are without arms. And the second thing, the Afghan Talibans, they were rewarding anyone who captured an interpreter. And so if an interpreter is captured, they would actually torture that person, not just kill him. They would torture him for a long period of time. It's a miserable life, so bad that when I went for my interview for my medical testing to Baltimore, I met some other Afghan interpreters, and they all advised me. They said, when you go to Afghanistan, before you go, get yourself a sidearm. I said, why the sidearm? They said, the sidearm is... I said, oh, how can you fight an automatic rifle with a sidearm? He says, oh, no, it's not to fight battles. And then I said, what is it for? He said, shooting yourself. I said, why would you shoot yourself? They said, oh, you don't want to go through the torture. So if you get captured, the first thing you do is you kill yourself. You shoot yourself. And that way you don't suffer through the torture, and then eventually they'll kill you. So, and that was what they told me. But then later on, when I met these officers and other people who had served in Afghanistan, and they told me someone was praying for you, looking out for you, and it's a good thing that you didn't go to Afghanistan. So thank that cow tongue for saving your life, saving your sanity. Because when you go to war, there's 4 outcomes. 1, you come back intact. Okay? Mentally and physically. The second is you come back physically damaged or mentally damaged. The third is you come back in a body bag. And the fourth is you're missing in action. So, out of those 4 outcomes, 3 of them are undesirable outcomes, okay? Missing in action, body bag, mentally, physically damaged. Only 1 outcome is you may come back intact and with sanity and physical. So, looking at those odds in a war zone, and I think it was a blessing in disguise that cow tongue in my refrigerator basically saved my life.
Thank you, cow tongue.
Thank you, cow tongue. Alina's saying thank you. I'm saying thank you to the cow.
That cow made a sacrifice for you.
Yes, the cow made a sacrifice for me and saved my life. That's my cow tongue story for today.